Hello ProTV, my name is Han. I'm currently at Cornell University and we're about to interview some Cornell students about their life and their opinions on Cornell. So hello, my name is Han and I am with
Kathy, Shiv, Casey,
William,
Chris,
Andrea,
Horace,
Victoria,
Alex,
Kyle.
What's your favorite thing at Cornell?
I think my favorite thing at Cornell has to be the people. I have found so many incredible, exciting, enthusiastic people who are really, really engaging and all super passionate about different things.
It's just a really beautiful place here. Like, you're never going to be able to see something like this campus anywhere else in any time in your life ever. Like, you have to walk across a bridge and see these beautiful waterfalls everywhere at any time you go. Like, you can't get anywhere without seeing it, so I think that's really cool and unique.
I'd say my favorite thing at Cornell is probably the networking opportunities just with the people, because I feel like Cornell has a lot of great people who come from a lot of great places and they all have different backgrounds. And I just love meeting people, so probably networking.
Mostly just the academic rigor of the classes in terms of breadth, and then being able to choose whatever I want to study, and how most of the teachers are very well versed in their subjects.
The people that I've met here, definitely my dance teams, because they're the entire reason I made it through Cornell.
I think my favorite thing is probably the professors as well as the fellow students. I think primarily the main advantage of coming to a school like Cornell isn't so much the classes itself you're taking, but more the opportunities you have to connect with the professors as well as fellow students.
I think there are lots of favorite things, but mostly this opportunity for me to expose to the Western culture in general, basically knowing people and doing research in general the Western education environment, I guess.
My favorite thing is my club Creme de Cornell. It's a food publication magazine. It's really fun.
I think my favorite thing at Cornell is Green Club. We're a non-profit that we started about a year ago. What we do is we help students reduce their carbon footprint. We enable you and connect you to projects that are reducing CO2 emissions, like planting trees, reforestation projects. And so when you sign up with Green Club, you commit to supporting that project each month. And then in return, you get access to a whole bunch of discounts. It's like free bus rides, 20% off the Cornell store, and then discounts with over 10 other companies, including restaurants and shops in Ithaca as well. Awesome. So it's a great way for, we think it's a great way for students to reduce their footprint, but also to save money at the same time.
I would say the people that I get to meet. We're from so many different backgrounds and I think everyone has a cool story to share.
What would you say is the worst thing about Cornell?
I'd say the worst thing about Cornell is just I don't know, the workload they give you. No matter what major you are, you're still gonna have a huge workload, and sometimes it's hard to balance that with other things you want to do.
There's this idea, I guess you could say, about there's a class structure, I guess you could say, in terms of people being a little bit more well off or people being a little bit more socioeconomically disadvantaged, and that's kind of something that's prevalent here. So if you're not used to it, it can be hard to take in. And also mental health awareness here is kind of low sometimes.
The bells, the chimes. I know people are oh my god, it's so great. You can hear the songs. They literally just sound like bells to me, clanging. I know they're oh, you can hear I don't know, the Harry Potter theme song, but when I'm trying to sleep right there, I'm why? But yeah, that's about it.
Language requirements. Not a big fan of my foreign language requirements. Those classes were pretty difficult.
I think the weather is really snowy here, and I don't like to walk in the snow all the time. But it's unfortunately all the time snowing.
My least favorite thing is the weather.
So I think one of the toughest things about campus is that you have a lot of really ambitious people here, and I think that there can be a culture and also a stress in keeping up that ambition and overachieving. It's been great because it's pushed me to do things that I wouldn't have done if I weren't at Cornell, but I think also at times you can feel you have to compensate, you have to catch up to others. So one of the biggest things for me over my 4 years here has been learning how to do things that I want to do on my own time and really taking that in stride. I think I struggled with that sophomore year a little bit, where I was following others, not sure what I wanted to do. But as I've gotten older and as I've gotten more used to understanding myself, understanding what I want to do, I've gained a lot of confidence in pursuing my interests instead of pursuing what other people tell me that I should be interested in. And I think it's a challenge, maybe not just at Cornell, but maybe in growing up. But I think in this community, which is relatively like a bubble, a bit isolated, you're in Ithaca, a lot of ambitious people, it can feel extra difficult to find your own path. But I think it's a really important thing. I think it's possible here, but it can be challenging.
When there's just random like road closures because of construction, it's just so inconvenient.
What do you think is the hardest thing at Cornell?
I think there's a lot of like exclusivity and like elitism. Like there are a lot of exclusive clubs that you have to apply for and interview for, and it's just like, damn, it's kind of hard to find a community here, to be honest, because you have to try and try again, and then sometimes you will never feel a part of something, which is sad, but true.
What's your favorite class here at Cornell?
My favorite class I've taken is probably Africans and African American literature, just because, like, I don't know, I care a lot about that. I'm black, so I really like learning about the history of my people and African Americans, and just, so that's probably been the most fun class I've taken.
I'm actually taking a class right now, which is Intro to LGBT Studies. It's really interesting because we're kind of talking about the notion of society and how heteronormativity plays into that and how it perpetuates different power structures.
Oh, it would be my post-colonial theory class. So I'm a gov major, so a lot of what I do is about like governments and how they're structured, and since I was born in West Africa, a lot of what I focus on is like colonial theory, especially in developing countries. So that class was literally just about colonial theory, and I was like, I'm in love. So yeah.
I'd recommend compilers. Pretty good class in computer science. People might scare you off by saying it's a really hard class, but I think it's worth taking.
Honestly, there are lots of favorite class, but I think personally, like, algo is my favorite class so far, just because that's the first year class I really enjoy working on, and also like the professor, I eventually got a really good relationship with him and kind of doing research ongoing with him, so it's like a entirely sort of new experience for me holding on my career.
My favorite class is this class I'm taking called Corporate Sustainability. It's really cool. It's like about like what I'm really interested in, which is social entrepreneurship, and it's kind of right up my alley, and it's like a smaller class, and then you get like discussions and everyone talks about like cases and stuff, so it's really nice, and the professor's nice too.
My favorite class I've taken so far, I think, is my Introduction to Computer Science class. I thought it was a great experience learning how to program in Python, which is a skill that I've used every single year in my internships. So I think it's been the most useful class, and honestly one of the funnest classes I've taken.
The classes that I don't have to sit with 200 people, any of them.
What would you say is like the most challenging thing about Cornell?
I think any elite university obviously has like a very large workload. So I have 3 exams, 2 papers due next week, and I think really time management is something that is difficult. When you have so much unstructured time, it's really about figuring out how to use it to your advantage.
I think people are pretty stressed out for the most part, but we're all stressed out together. You know, everyone kind of like is climbing up this slope, this hill, this metaphorical like obstacle together, and I think that's what like really makes us have more tough skin. It's kind of, there's this motto of like, if you can get through Cornell, you can get through anything. So it's tough, but you got it.
How would you describe like the social life here at Cornell?
I think the social life is really what you make of it. Obviously, I think there are a lot of very, very social people. We have a huge Greek scene on campus, but you also really don't have to be in the Greek scene to be socially active. There are, you know, a lot of different organizations that do fun things. It's really just about, what you make of it.
Social life at Cornell, I feel like for me, I'm kind of a social person. It's definitely subjective, like to what type of person you are, but I feel like I'm a social person, so I like to meet people and do fun stuff. But I've heard from a lot of people that I've met that the social life is not like great, like because, I don't know, it's harder there are a lot of introverts here. So, but I mean, like, I feel like in general, the social life at Cornell is pretty good.
It's really what you make of it. It's kind of like if you want to be social, you can be, but if you're someone that just wants to chill in a library and just study the entire time you're here, you can do that too. But I definitely recommend trying to make some friends. It's pretty easy, just like talk to someone in your class and be like, hey, you want to do a study group? And then bada bing, bada boom, you got some friends.
That's actually one of the biggest things I like about Cornell, surprisingly, is that there's always a bunch of different places and groups of people. Right now, I'm a part of like the LAL. I personally don't identify as Latina, but a lot of my friends do, and it's something that I care about. And being able to just like be a part of it or just be on their listserv for me is really cool. Or being able to be in the Black student organization or the African student organization, things like that is really cool.
I think the general social life depends a lot, specifically on like what circles you frequent. As in, like, as somebody who studies math and CS, I feel like my social circles are fairly limited. I feel like the type of people that I interact with on a daily basis are typically like it's a fairly small circle of people that a lot of them also do math and CS.
I think if you have some sort of social group that you affiliate with, it could be really accommodating and inviting, but for people that don't have like a social club that they participate in, I feel like it could be a little isolating, especially with like the lack of a real sports culture here or things that really bring the campus together. I feel like we kind of lack in that domain.
What's like a typical day like for an average student like yourself at Cornell?
I guess I'll wake up in the morning, usually grab breakfast because it's the most important meal of the day. Sometimes I'll try to go to the gym in the morning, get a good workout in. My classes kind of start anywhere between like 8:40 and 10. I'll usually have, catch lunch with friends, grab a bite to eat somewhere, work for a couple hours. My day usually ends around 4. And then I'll either do club work or catch up on schoolwork.
A typical day for me is try to wake up early, probably by 7. I don't know how early that is for some people, but that's early for me. And then I try to read a little bit for whatever classes I have that day. Then I go to class, sit in class, barely pay attention. I have a problem, I just can't pay attention. But then after class, I try to catch up on whatever I've been missing or do homework or something. Eat dinner at around like 6, 7 or whenever I get hungry. Exercise in my room, take a shower, go to sleep.
I wake up around 7:30 and then I eat breakfast in my dorm, go to class, have lunch with my friends, and then go to clubs and stuff.
It kind of changes every day. Unlike this semester, I used to take 22 credits every semester. This one, no, I'm taking 14 like a reasonable person. So usually it'll like go to class in the morning, have some free periods during the day, then go to class again, and then dance for like 2 to 4 hours.
Well, I mean, first I decide whether I want to go to class or not. So that depends on what time I wake up in the morning. But typically after you go to class, it's kind of like you have classes throughout your day. And then kind of like intermixed with your classes, you have like a couple hour blocks where you can like spend the time doing homework or eating lunch or various other things. Often I spend my time doing research or other homework. And also a lot of times just not doing productive things either.
For me, just basically I wake up, go into class, and go to some office hour stuff, and after class, do some homework, do some research at night, and that's about it.
So I wake up, I go to class. My earliest class is 10:10, and then I kind of just run around. There's like always meetings, and then like you always have lunches or dinners with your friends, and then you kind of just like it just kind of doesn't end until like night, and then you get back and then just like chill.
So I'm in my 4th year now, so I'm not in too many classes, only in 3 classes really. So it's like maybe 1 class a day, but a lot of the rest of my time is spent doing stuff, pursuing things I like. So I spend a lot of time with Green Club. We partner with a lot of companies, so we spend a lot of time talking with them, creating marketing material and other content. And I also do research around sustainability on campus. So I am in my lab in Upson Hall quite a bit, and that's one of my favorite parts about Cornell is that as an undergrad here, you can do so many different things. Professors are willing to help you get involved in research. They're willing to help you with your like nonprofit, and it's because of that support that I'm able to, spend less time in class, but more time doing things that I like to do.
What would you like to describe kind of like your an average weekend at Cornell?
Yeah, I mean, I think an average weekend for me, obviously, I try to get most of my work done during the week so I can really enjoy the weekend and de-stress. I'll typically, go out a couple nights with friends and do some fun things, maybe watch a movie and chill.
My weekends, because I do music, I record music, so my weekends are mostly consist of either writing or recording music or just like doing whatever I didn't get to do during the week, probably catching up on sleep, playing games, like video games or something.
Study, sometimes go to a party, but for the most part, study.
It's usually filled with work, dancing, not really homework, even though it should be, but yeah, work and dancing, and then like partying if there's a party to go to.
Once again, I feel like I may not have a representative view of what a typical weekend is for a Cornell student. Typically on the weekends, I relax about the same amount as I do during the weekdays, but also it's just like an opportunity to spend more time doing like extracurricular activities and stuff like that.
Yeah, for me, it's mostly go to some club meetings and then go to like do some work. Especially I just procrastinate till weekend to do and do some research and relax a bit, like play some games.
My weekends are really chill. I cook with my friends on Sunday nights. It's really fun. Gotta plug that.
Weekends depends. I think as I've gotten older, I've also like strayed away from the party scene, and now most of my weekends are spent with like friends, small groups, hanging out. One of our goals this semester is to visit every single bar in Ithaca. There's a lot of like towny, small little joints. We went to one the other weekend. We got in, it was karaoke night. And there were a whole bunch of local Ithacans singing, playing guitar, and it was a total surprise, and it was awesome to see that small town culture really shine through. Now my favorite thing to do on the weekends is to explore Ithaca, hang out with small groups of friends, getting drinks at bars. Yeah.
How do you think Cornell like prepares you for like life, you know, beyond Cornell or in general?
I think it depends on the people you meet. So I don't really use Cornell resources that much, but I really rely on the people around me, and that's like on me to take the initiative. So
How would you say are like the people here at Cornell?
it's really diverse. You'll meet people from all walks of life, really. But again, with that whole community thing, sometimes it feels a little segregated. So it's all up to you again to like really take the initiative to branch out. But everyone's fairly nice. I mean, most people from the East Coast, so you know, like fast walkers, like fast-paced people, we love that. I'm an East Coast girl, so I've only encountered like maybe one microaggressive instance, like one mean instance. Other than that, of my whole 4 years here, people have been generally accepting and tolerant.
How would you describe the campus here at Cornell?
Campus is beautiful. Like the scenery is beautiful, but it's hard to admire it when you're just like rushing to class and stuff, and you just have like a lot of stuff to do. It's hard to admire it. Sometimes you take it for granted, but I'd say like the campus. I think the campus is beautiful, especially in the summer when it starts. When the snow melts, it looks really good.
And how is the food here?
Food is great. Actually, that's one of the main reasons I came here. I love food. I read online before I came that like Cornell is like top 3 in the country in food, like dining hall quality. And like I don't know, people complain a lot, and you know sometimes you just kind of complain with them just to be a part of the group or stuff. But like I really like the food. I'm not even gonna lie. Like dining halls really sometimes they have really good food.
It's good for the first month, and then after that it kind of just goes downhill. But I mean, if you know the right places, you can probably still get some good food.
Honestly, like compared to other universities I've been to, so much better, like so 100 times better. In terms of my personal taste, we could use a little more pepper, but it's okay. In like grand scheme of things, it's great.
As an international student, I feel like when I live in North campus, like the first year, like freshman year, it's okay since I can find what I want to eat. But in Western, it's like in the West campus, it becomes more limited choice, but the smaller kitchen and stuff, and then it's hard for me to find what I want to eat, like this Eastern foods. But then in college town, there are lots more choices. So in general, you can find what you want if you really like spend time to go there and you want to eat together.
I think the food are okay. I'm not a big fan of the dining halls, to be honest, but like I know people like it. And then there's also a lot of good places where you pay BRBs, which is kind of the Cornell money. It's called Big Red Bucks, and those foods are pretty good. The Statler foods are pretty good.
And what about like the dorms here, like the housing situation here at Cornell?
That could be a lot better. Cornell, I feel like, has a housing crisis. It's really hard for some people to find housing. For freshman year, I lived in the low rises, and it was hard to live in the low rises and walk past places like Muse and CKB because those are like really nice dorms. If you're lucky, you get a really nice dorm. If you're not, then like, I mean, you just kind of settle in, get used to it. So it's not that bad, but I mean, it could be better.
I was lucky enough to get a single. I live in Jameson. It's pretty chill, pretty nice to be honest. Not all of the dorms have AC though, so there's that. And sometimes the heater's on the fritz, sometimes elevators break, but for the most part, it's good.
Honestly, I haven't lived in a dorm since my freshman year, so I feel like I can't really comment on that, but I will say the hall that I lived with my freshman year, we're all still friends. Like we all still hang out, still get lunch and things like that. So in terms of that, you get a lot of really great people and meet a lot of friends, but also I've been living off campus for 3 years now.
How would you describe like the student organizations and clubs here at Cornell?
I feel like they put in a lot of effort. Like it's whoever's in what club, like whoever's on the e-board of whatever club they're in, they're like really passionate about what they're doing, and that really reflects in their work. And like when I go to like G-Body meetings and stuff, I see that whoever's like leading the clubs, like, or they're like really passionate about whatever they're doing. So I think the clubs are all doing great things here.
It's pretty good for the most part. There's basically anything, and if you don't find something that you like, you can easily start a club. I started a club, and it's really fun and interesting.
I think there's a lot of different ones, which is really nice because you can always find something that you're a part of or somewhere that you can belong to. Especially like for me, coming from like a very complicated background, I think just being able to find a place where you know that like it's about you first and your experiences rather than like a part of you, which is really helpful.
I've been involved with a lot of things throughout my time at campus. Currently, I think the thing I spend a lot of my time doing is research, so undergrad research. So I have a club, self-plug here, called CUVL, or Cornell University Vision and Learning. So we're kind of focused on like doing undergrad research in computer vision and machine learning. So yeah, so we spend a lot of time. So she's also a part of that club. and we spend a lot of time like just doing undergrad research and submitting papers and stuff like that. Also involved with a club called ICPC. So this is like competitive programming, if you've heard of it. So that's like a good opportunity to just like learn more about competitive programming and compete in competitions.
Yeah, so actually involved in plenty of clubs, and that's including CVL, like University Vision and Learning, that's a research club, and it's pretty supportive environment where you support those young researchers doing self-driven research. And that's unique, like undergrad research club. But there are also clubs like ACSU, like that's Association of Computer Science Undergrads, and that's just basically for more like a community support. So you kind of communicate with other students in computer science major and organize other events, and that's like more like a social experience. And it's also interesting, but it's like less like really intimate as in research club where you spend all the time like working on like 10 hours on Sanskrit. There's also project teams, like I was in Cornell data science before. It's more like people spending time doing project there, and while doing project you spend all the time together, then you gradually develop this friendship. Also due to all this intelligent intellectual communication. But I think in general the clubs are pretty supportive in Cornell, and they are pretty great environment for you to know people, especially when you focus on your coursework and you don't have time to social with other people. That's the place you can find your friends and talk with them.
I think when you're a freshman, it's really intense because there's so many options. You really don't know like what to pick, and there's also a lot of things that's like super intense, and like it's definitely really overwhelming. But I think once you do find things that you're really interested in, it's really fun because you meet a lot of people who's like really passionate about, like ideally you'll meet people who's like really passionate about the same thing as you are. It really works out great. Yeah.
I think it depends on the clubs. I think some are really exclusive, and I'm sure there's a lot of connections and a lot of great resource that comes out of that. The ones that I've participated in, I feel like they bring a really interesting aspect to the Cornell culture, and I think, I mean, the amount of diversity in clubs that we have is really great. At least the ones that I participate in, I really enjoy. So I'm really involved in the dance community on campus. I'm the president of Cornell Dancers Alliance, and I work with Break Free Hip Hop, Assorted Aces, and some other groups.
What are your plans after graduation?
After graduation, I'm planning on probably like doing research in industry. Currently I'm applying to these programs called like AI residencies. I'd kind of describe them as like master's programs in industry, but I plan on doing research in like this machine learning and systems intersection.
Probably go to PhD, so that's like my basically I'm aiming for like going to entire academic career. So probably go to PhD somewhere and then just apply for some postdoc things.
So after graduation, I'll be going to San Francisco to work in consulting. I plan to start my own startup there relatively soon after leaving college. Beyond that, I'm not too sure. I'm trying to keep my options open.
What would you tell high school students who are interested in Cornell about the place? Like anything that you would tell them, like advice-wise?
I think like as you look at colleges and as you go through the college process, I think the most important thing is really about finding a place where you feel like you fit in, where you find communities of people that resonate with you, and you find a place that tells a story that you want to be a part of.
Don't bring that much stuff freshman year. It's gonna be like hell to clean it later at the end.
I'd say that's definitely a good goal to reach. Like, I feel like this is a good school, a good place to be. Don't sweat it if you don't get in. Like, life has a lot of opportunities, and everyone has their own path. Just work as hard as you can and do your best. Don't let whether you get in or not be an indication of your worth, because it's not. So yeah.
In your essays, try and be as authentic as possible, and try and just tell your story.
Calm down. Honest to God, calm down and enjoy your time, especially like as a person. The work will always be there. You'll always have a prelim. You'll always have 501 things to do, but like you won't always have a chance to hang out with your friends or always have a chance to just like take a moment and chill, watch that Netflix show, binge watch if you want to, I don't know, but like take time for you and your mental health.
Once again, I feel like my experience as a college student has been very non-representative of your typical college experience. I would recommend doing research. I think that's a good thing to do. Very educational.
I think the most important thing to applying to college and eventually be successful in college is like you know what you want to do really. Because in college, especially in Cornell, it's a large university, you can do everything if you want, but it's sometimes too diverse for you. So you need to know what you want to do, and then you focus on it, and you just kind of walking your own path instead of like being distracted by other people. So it's pretty important, I think, that you know at the moment you apply into college, you know what you want to do initially, and then that might change, but you have a clear mind.
This is the most cliche thing, but just follow your heart and do what you like. Don't get into that whole rabbit hole of like what's like gonna look better for your resume, and then just follow what you're passionate about, and then everything's gonna work out.
I think if you can come to Cornell, it's great because it'll open a lot of doors for you. But I also truly believe that wherever you end up going, you'll be able to find yourself, find the opportunities you want there. And so I think this is a great school. I think you can get done what you want to get done here, but it's also definitely not the only option. And I encourage students to apply, but ultimately, wherever they end up, they'll do great. And so don't worry too much about it.
Figure out exactly what you want out of this experience. Don't just apply because it's Cornell. Apply because you feel like you can actually make a difference here, or Cornell can actually shape you in a way that you want to be shaped.